Howdy y'all, thank you for joining me today for me revealing my top 100. Really more just, I do this every year anyways and make a list. Been doing it for about 6 or 7 years now, figuring out what my top 100 games are. And just decided to go ahead, since I have a YouTube channel, to go ahead and just put it out there. I'm also going to just do a few each time per video. And on my last 40, I'm actually going to collab with somebody that plays at our shop who has his own YouTube channel also, and we'll check out and compare games since we do have some differences in games and whatnot. But for the most part, the way I came up with this list is normally I used to do this long drawn out thing where I would put note cards to compare things and all that. This year I just went with Pub Meeple and tried it out and did about, basically I would do the whole overall list of about 300 games or whatever, and I would do it 10 times. Then I would just average those games amongst 10, just to divide it by, you know, get the average so I can figure out exactly where it kind of lies, just because Pub Meeple does sometimes do comparisons where you're not going to get certain comparisons and whatnot. So anyways, enough about that. Now, as far as my list goes, I haven't really looked at it completely. I mean, I kind of know what's going to be in my top 100. Certain games, like probably it'll be in the area just because I know which ones I enjoy a lot. But I haven't looked at the finalized list once I put it all inside and had it averaged out. So I just printed it up. It's kind of going to be kind of a way for me to look at it right now. Other than my top 10. I couldn't resist myself. I had to see what my top 10 were. And there was surprises on there, but anyways, enough talking. I'm just going to get into it. I already feel like enough. Feels weird just doing this, but let's do it. Alright, so my number 100 was actually new to my list last year, and it's gone down just a little bit, and that is Great Western Trail. It was 78 for me last year. It's gone down a little bit for me, but not too much. I still enjoy the game. I like the deck building element. I've been told I need to really try the expansion. I have not played it with the expansion yet. And I think the issues, and not really issues, just I think the expansion will probably be something more, a little bit more to my play style. The new version with the new cows, the second edition, and I really like those new cows. I like the way they do things. So I'm curious to see what they added into the expansion, what the expansion will add in, and what they added, if they added anything new. Of course, I won't know that because I didn't try the base expansion. But I'm definitely interested to try it out because I think that might make this go up a little bit just because I've heard you can do some buildings and things. But for the most part, I do enjoy this game a lot. It's got deck building, which is one of my favorite elements, mechanics in a game. So this one just kind of does that with a little bit more hand management with the deck building. So my number 99 dropped significantly, and I think it's Nemesis. Last year was my first time to play it. It was number 52 for me last year. It dropped down to my 99, obviously, now. I think, thematically, I love this game. I think if you like that Aliens movie, or you just like the survival type style game, this is very thematic in that regards. Now, this is talking about base Nemesis. I have not tried Lockdown yet, which I am more of a fan of the second Alien movie, Aliens, and that's where that one gears a little bit more too. But I think also a lot of the shiny new wore off on Nemesis for me. A lot of my reasons I know it went down was I felt like with just the classes that were in the base game, there weren't a lot of changing up other than, oh, I got this different goal, but for the most part, I play the character kind of the same, except for just putting it towards my goal. I think initially when I first played the game, I was actually thinking it was going to be like a deck building or a point to where you could get other cards. Not so much as deck building, but just something where you can make your deck a little different. Whereas now I've definitely played the same class, and it just kind of, to me, just felt the same. I mean, yes, the goal was different, but it kind of felt the same to me. And maybe with Lockdown and all those other classes and mixing that up, I think it could rise up a little bit more, because this is very thematic to me. Just for the most part, just the game started getting old to me, and I wasn't really seeing much replayability other than just playing the people that were playing it. So if I knew that they were the type to want to backstab or whatever, I knew, okay, well, I just got to play knowing this. And that to me felt like I wasn't so much playing the game as playing something that I could play another hidden role or deduction game and save a lot of time. Because that was also another issue I have with Nemesis. I just feel like while it's very thematic, sometimes the game could just be so long, and while you are steeped in that theme, it just felt like it would just take a little too long into that theme. But that's enough trashing it. I do like the game a lot. It is very thematic. If you have not tried it and you do like those survival type games, or even the social deduction, figuring out goal, having your own personal goal, or figuring out if someone's being the traitor, this is a game to definitely look into. It's a really good game. My number 98 is actually new to my list. It was a new game I just played this year. It's Circadians First Light. I kind of already figured this would be in there, only because I am a huge fan of the Garfield games, and this one was one that I did enjoy. As far as the gameplay, I mean, I like anything with dice. You're going to let me roll dice. Dice placement here, and then it took something with the dice placement and changes it up a little bit. I like the way you can get your own unique buildings. I guess not really unique, but there's a couple of them. But you can get a building maybe before someone else does, or have a building that someone else never does get, and you're able to do something special with those dice, or because you decide to use those dice to negotiations with a different alien race, and that gets you some certain victory points. Just all the different things you can do. And then, of course, it has one of my favorite elements also, another one of my favorite elements, where you're going to be building, instead of building, you're just building special gear, which once again gives you either something special that you're scoring only, or gives you some special unique thing that you're able to pull off that no one else is pulling off. Those are just things that make me, that just trigger fireworks in my brain, is when I have something unique that I'm able to do that no one else is able to do, other than just a regular player power, but just something else also, especially if it's with a worker or something like that. And in this regards, being able to do that, build out your own board, and decide how you're going to do your dice placement, just seems really good to me, and I really did enjoy this game a lot. I have this is also based off the original. I did just get the second edition in a few months ago. Have not gotten it to the table. I need to, and just see. It didn't look like they changed too much, just a bigger box, but we'll see if they changed anything and see where this goes from there. Number 97 for my top 100. Actually, it was kind of a surprise for me that it made it in the top 100, because it's kind of been looming for a while, but it was Gen 7. I know a lot of people really hated on that one because they were looking for something when they saw the Crossroads. I think it was Crossroads, right? Trying to remember what it's called, but it's with Dead of Winter, and they were expecting something more like Dead of Winter, just in space. This was a little bit different, and I think I know why it ended up on my list. I am kind of into the storytelling games right now, and I think that one had a small little fraction of that into it, and I did enjoy the game. It was always, like, when I look at where it was at last year, it was 113. Before that, it was 109, so it was looming there, and now it's at 97. So it's around in this same area, and I think that's what a lot of it is. I think I'm really into these storytelling games right now, and with that one changing every time you play it, mixing this card in that's going to be unique to your character or unique to the situation because of it. Now, I've never played through this whole thing completely. I haven't opened up all the envelopes. I've only played it a few times, reset it, and played it again. I am anxious to try it again, especially since it popped back up on my top 100. I'm definitely going to want to play it again and see if that's where it needs to go. But I did enjoy it. Like I said, it didn't move that much. I mean, 113, 109, now 97. And I think if you just heard all the talk and didn't try it, I wouldn't say go out and buy it unless you can find it cheap, but definitely give it a try. But do not go into it expecting a Dead of Winter feel, because it wasn't really a lot like that, even though it says, like I said, I can't remember. I think it's called Crossroads, but it was that cool element in Dead of Winter. This has kind of done it in a different way, which I'm kind of glad they did that and then just reskin it. And it's definitely not a reskin because this one is more of a worker placement game. So with your own personal goals, which as we saw with my number 98, right, or 99, Nemesis was 99. As we saw with that one, having my own personal goal to go for, giving you a direction to go, that's probably a lot of it. But definitely going to be curious to see and play this again and see if it stays where it is, falls off, what's going to happen there. But it was surprising to see that it popped up onto my top 100, which after actually seeing, I didn't even realize it was lingering in the 120s. So there we go. And my number 96, still hanging there. It's the game that everyone loves to hate, or it's become the game that it's cool to hate. Wingspan. I love Wingspan. I think it's a beautiful game. I kind of get the hate, but not really. I mean, especially when people are just like, oh, it's just about birds. It's a little bit more than that, but it makes sense. I mean, this is, if you watch the Dice Tower puts this, the player's choice, I should say, the player's choice has this as the #1 game for 3 years in a row, I think now. And I mean, there's a good reason why that game's there. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's a beautiful game. I mean, it lets people learn to engine build without having to really learn to engine build or just to accidentally go into the engine build. Now, I haven't really played it. I understand the hate for it. If people say they don't like the scoring, I don't like the scoring either. How random it can be. Like, oh, I pulled off every single goal with the max and somehow still just don't have points. Because you either just pull random birds that have big or worth big victory points or whatnot. But I like Wingspan a lot still. There is another game that makes me feel like it. We're going to see how this is affected. And that's Earth. I'm really enjoying Earth right now, which does feel a lot. It's similar to Wingspan. I would not say it's Wingspan killer or anything like others are saying. But it definitely has some. It feels similar, and I think if you like Wingspan, you want to try it, but we're not talking about Earth right now. We're talking about Wingspan. And I do like it. And from looking at it, it did drop a little bit for me. It was number 61 last year. The year before that, it was 24. So it's dropped significantly for me. And I think a lot of that is, I think it's the solitaire play. And then I played a lot of new games this last year. I even had a challenge where I tried to play 100 new games. I think that affected it a lot. And I think also is that scoring. At least whenever someone sits there and talks about scoring, I can agree with them on that. The scoring thing. The nice thing I like about the game, though, is it's fast. Like, it's fast. It's easy. If I need to teach it to new people, I can bust it out on a table. It's not overly complicated. Now, I have not tried the expansion, the last 2 expansions, actually. And I mean, I'm going to, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy them because they're just going to add more birds. And I haven't tried the nectar and seeing how that's going to affect the game, seeing how the new birds affect the game. I do know I do like the game a lot more, even though it's been going down for me. I do like the game a lot more with the second expansion. There was a lot of things in there I liked. Basically, certain mechanics that the birds used and the way they worked and whatnot. So I think this one's going to stay on my list for a while because I do enjoy playing it. I like to see what type of combos I can pull off depending on. It's also another one of those games I think people get too wrapped up in. I have to go pull this certain bird or I have to go get these certain birds. But to me, it's more of one of those games where try to figure out what you could do with the birds that are dealt to you or the birds that you're seeing on the display. So I think that's a lot of this game. I think a lot of people just get too wrapped up in, no, I have to get the mechanic where I got to get the birds to get me resources, or I have to get the birds to help me lay eggs, or I have to get these to go towards the goals. And I think they get too wrapped up in just trying to play for the win instead of just playing for the simplicity of the game and enjoying it. So I think this is going to be a stay, but this is on my list. It had been dropping. We'll see where it is next year, but I also haven't played with the last 2 expansions yet, so we'll see how that goes. My number 95, another game that's dropped significantly. Like I said, I played a lot of new games this year, but I think this one I can probably say for a fact I know why it dropped a little bit. But either ways, My number 95 is Tyrants of the Underdark. This one is a very fun deck builder if you haven't tried it yet. It's a deck building game with area control, and or you can go with culling your deck, or promoting is what they call it in Tyrants. Promoting cards from your deck to make them worth victory points. Or you can just go with a bunch of influence and buy a bunch of cards which are going to give you victory points. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to go about in this game. I think the random factor is what's starting to hit me in the game, of just the randomness of what comes out and when it comes out for you. You may not just, as far as like the main deck, and you may not just be getting as good random as some of the others are getting. Other than that, it is a game that if someone puts it on table, I will play it. We just played it this last Thursday, actually, and everybody had a blast. It's just a good game. And by dropping a lot, I think it's just that randomness factor, and really that's about it. Then the theme, I love the theme. I love the Underdark theme, the Dungeons & Dragons theme. I used to play in a Drow campaign, so a lot of that lore stuck with me, and seeing some of the stuff in there, and just always the good time around the table with this game. It is a great game. It is a game also, and that's another reason I think it dropped a little bit, is I feel like it's really only good at 4 players. I mean, you could play it at 2 and 3, and 2 ain't so bad, but 2 just feels like that random's really more apparent. And then 3 players, I don't know, I don't like the way the board section's off with 3 players. But 4 players, it's typically one of those games that when we have 4 players and we're trying to figure out what to play, if someone mentions it, unless I just feel like someone at the table isn't going to enjoy the game or something, I'm going to put it on the table. But great game. If you haven't tried it out yet, I think the copy you get now comes with the hard to get expansion, but they got rid of the plastic pieces. I still have the old copy, but either way, if you can find a copy of this game and you haven't tried it out yet, and you like deck building, you like majority area control, this is a good game to check out. I think it's a good meet in the middle. Great game. My number 94, I think I'm starting to see a trend here, actually, looking at my list now, because my number 94 is Magic the Gathering Heroes of Dominaria. I want to make sure I did it right. Yes, Heroes of Dominaria, the board game. And this one dropped significantly because now it's my 94. It was number 48 before that. 31. It was lingering 31, 48. Now it's 94. And I find it funny because I'm looking at Tyrants of the Underdark, which was 57 and dropped to 95. And now this is 48, dropped to 94. And I think it's because of the same reasons. The randomness. I guess that's where I'm at now, as I'm starting to see some more randomness here. This was a surprise for me because I expected, when I saw the Magic the Gathering IP on the box, that it was just going to be another skinned way of playing Magic, and instead it was more of a resource management. But with that resource management, building and putting stuff on a board, which I love, where you're taking things off of your board and putting them on the map, and those give you more abilities and more victory points and stuff like that. So really more of a resource management, remove stuff off your board to doing better. But that randomness of where the resources or mana is falling on the board, that I think started hitting me. And then I don't like, you got these wizards that are planeswalkers that, oh no, they're not all planeswalkers, but either way, your characters you're playing, and they don't really have a player power, and you don't really get anything unique. So they do offer a variant where you would deal each person a starting artifact, which will give them a goal or give them something that they can already use, or something that they can work towards to start using later. And I haven't tried that yet, and I think that is a direction I'm going to go with it, just because I do think that while it won't eliminate the problem I have with the randomness, I think it'll eliminate the only other issue I have with it. I can't get my words out. And that is, yeah, it just feels like you're all starting base, but whoever goes first is going to be able to hit the mana first and maybe hit the bigger spots of mana, or they may have just had mana that started closer to them or whatever. And I think this is, it's a very good game. If you have not tried it, it was surprising. I don't know if it's quite worth to get the special. I think there were two. There was a premium edition and a regular. The premium just has painted miniatures. Might not even just be only painted. It might just be only miniatures and painted as the premium added. I don't know if it's worth getting that. But if you can find this game at a good price, it is a fun game. And it is not just a... another Magic reskin, like you're just going to play Magic. It is Magic themed. You're going to recognize stuff from Magic in it, like the characters and the artifacts and the lands and, of course, the mana. You're going to recognize all that stuff. So if you're a fan of Magic and you want to branch in a little bit to see if you like board games, it's a nice, easy one. This was also surprising because there for a while, WizKids wasn't putting out a lot of amazing games. They were okay. This was one of the first ones I tried out, and it surprised me. And then I've been finding a few other WizKid games that are really, really good. So this is a great one to check out if you like Magic, or you just want to see about, yeah, if you just like Magic, really. And you like, I could definitely break this out to another Magic player who's interested in board games. And this is a way of letting them see another type of game other than just Magic, and they might be more interested because they're seeing some more stuff there. So this is a nice one to check out. And that's my 94, right? Yep, 94. But number 93 is, once again, fitting into that trend, Dice Town. I definitely know, and it's about in the same spot. It was last year's 68, year before that 57. So, I mean, we're definitely seeing, like, a lot of those random games have been on my top. Like, this one's been on my top 100 ever since I played it. I do know I did not like this game at first until I realized how random it really was. And then I just get into the theme of the game and what you're doing in the game. And once I do that and go into the game, not trying to win, because there's no way you're going to get strategy in this game. People try to tell me all the strategies you can do. You can go this way. You can try to go these. You can try to roll this. You're going to roll some dice. You're going to try to get the best hands you can. There's some mitigation a little bit with the money. At the end of the day, you can have all the money in the world and somebody can roll the perfect hand and just, you ain't gonna be able to do anything about that, and you're gonna have to sit there and just go with a random roll sometimes. But I do like the game a lot, and it's just great to really get into the theme. I don't know how many times we scream at the end of the night, or just sometimes not even that night of playing Dice Town, walking around, "Sheriff, he stole my horse." I mean, great game. If you haven't tried it, it is a great one to play. We had to start doing a variant where we play the first round where nobody gets to re-roll. You're just going to roll the dice, and I kind of teach the game that way. Just roll the dice. Everyone just rolls their dice. That's what they have to deal with for the first round, and we just kind of go down the board. It's great to teach new people. That way they can see how the board reacts before they have to actually start using money to try to change their hand. Because when you teach them the game and they're sitting there, well, I don't know what I want, it's better just, I don't know. I just thought that was a great idea that we started doing, and we do it now, and it's just a great way to teach people, because then they can see how each thing affected their hand. So you just roll dice, go down the board like the first turn, that's just what you get. And then that also kind of makes it to where when you break into the second round, it's kind of like having a player power or random starting, because your random starting was what you happen to roll. So you happen to get this stuff. So now that might get you a direction to go. And I will say this game actually moved up for me last year, and probably the only reason it really stayed in there because I do like it so much. The last expansion, the Cowboys one, I think it's called, the one where you get to put cows on there and barbed wire your property. Great little expansion. I think I like that one more because it doesn't just make it a grab of luck. Oh man, there's 3 big properties out there that are worth a lot of points. I have to get the perfect hand now, and now I can't mitigate it. So someone just now took a ton of points. Yes, those can be stolen, but now with the Cowboys, you only get 1 land. And if you do get a good land, you can protect it by getting some cows on it and stuff like that. So I mean, I think I really like that expansion a lot. I think it did open it up quite a bit. But this game also, I will say, if you tried this game and you did not play with the first expansion where you get 2 options on each, that game's unplayable without that expansion, in my opinion. You have to have that expansion. That expansion alone just makes the game 90% better, in my opinion. So this game, I think, and I mean, it kind of sucks because I got the new edition, but they didn't reprint the. I didn't even look. They might have since, but at the time when I got the new edition, I had to take the old edition out of my game and put it into the second edition because the cards are getting all beat up. But now you can even tell my expansion because it's pretty beat up. But with sleeves, we've been, you know, kind of mitigating it a little bit. And then this also has the problem of there's certain small little expansions where the cards are different colored on the back and stuff. But great game, especially with all the different expansions. Just gives you so many different ways. Just go into it knowing it's random and you're just playing to have fun and rob banks or steal from each other or be a oil baron if you have the one expansion. Yeah, great game. My number 92 is Dinosaur Island. And I think this one's dropped a little bit because it was, well, I can look and see. It only dropped a little bit. It was 79 last year. And I think this one only dropped a little bit. And it's been kind of steadily just dropping a little bit each time ever since expansion. And I think a lot of that is it, because this fits in that random thing. Because while I feel the game, you must have that expansion. You need to play with it. I feel like there are just certain dinosaurs that just... And I even looked online. I get it. They say it's balanced, but it just feels like certain dinosaurs just don't really have that balance, man. And I do enjoy this game. It is a table hog. I only play it on medium. I don't play the long game, so I'm not going to say it's length of time or anything. It's just a table hog, but it's a great game. And I think if there's anything I had to say bad about the game I don't like, I'm not big into the look of it. I don't like that 90s, it's not retro. Well, I guess 90s retro at this point, but it's got that 90s neon look, and I really don't like the colors and and all that. Also, just to throw some little hate out there, I'm not a Jurassic Park fan. I like the book, but the movie, no, just don't care. Dinosaurs don't impress me. But this game is a great game. And if you want to feel like you're making a dinosaur theme park, and that's why I feel like the expansion needs to be in there, because the expansion to me, getting your little worker that does something unique, like the one where you can use it as a, and if you played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, sorry, but there's like, you get this worker, and you may have the ability where you can use them as a scientist, and you can use them in your worker placement as a worker. Great that they have something like that. And then also the idea of each park being a different park, like you have a 3D park where you just make holographic dinosaurs and whatnot, and another one where you're all about casinos and stuff like that. Great game. I do enjoy it. It just has a little bit of everything. If you like worker placement, if you like tableau building, money management, it's all there. And if you like dinosaurs, just going to add more into it. It is a table hog, and I like playing it every time we get to the table. I don't think I've ever had a time where I've been like, even when getting defeated, great game. And that's, to me, that's what you should be playing games for. You shouldn't be caring so much about, I have to smash face every time. It should just be, have fun. And this game's always one of those ones where we get to have fun as we're playing. My number 91 is a Richard Garfield game. Since we were talking about Magic, let's talk about another one of his games, Carnival of Monsters. Carnival of Monsters is a great drafting game. I'm actually surprised to see it this low, because it was, well, I guess it was $69.56. I wonder if because of that randomness, because I do enjoy this game a lot. I don't really feel the randomness is bad because you get the drafting to it, but I guess there is a little bit of randomness now that I think about it, on the, as far as you're just getting all the swamps and you're just not seeing those type of creatures or whatnot. But I don't know. I don't know why that's dropped. I didn't expect it to drop this low because it was number 69 the year before, 56 the year before that, so it means it's been hanging there. And this is one of my favorite drafting games. And anytime when I need to teach a drafting game, it's usually going to be this game that I put to the table. This also harbors back to what I mentioned about Magic, the Heroes Dominaria game earlier. This is a great game for if somebody is plays Magic and they know how to draft. I can bust this out, and it gives them another way of looking at drafting or another type of game. I have seen it go the other way too, though, where because they are a Magic player and they see the name Richard Garfield and they see drafting and they see the lands, and then they see monsters, they start thinking it more like Magic, where they're going to bring out these monsters and attack each other, and it's not. It's just a point salad victory point game where you're going to draft, and you can only go after certain monsters if you have the lands to bring them out or find the monsters, so you go explore those lands. But it is a quick game. Every time we bring it out, typically we play 2 or 3 times, and usually people are subbing in and out at the table as people are coming in because it's an easy game. Great game to play. If you haven't tried it, I don't know how hard it is to find, but it is a good one. Definitely check it out. Shows Richard Garfield has a lot of great games out there. I can already tell you there's a couple you're going to see. I think there's at least a couple more that should be, I would think. Because like I said, I haven't looked at my list yet. But I'm pretty sure I could think of at least 1 or 2 that I would think would be still in my top 100. But we'll see. But definitely, if you haven't checked it out and you like drafting, this is a quick, easy, good one to go check out. Carnival of Monsters, number 91. My number 90 has actually been on my list, been one of my top 100 games ever since I played it. It's Imperium Domain. I like this game a lot, and actually looking from last year, it's my number 90 right now. It was 91 last year, so it looks like it's just hanging in the same spot. And this is what I was seeing when I was trying Pub Meeples. I was seeing our games staying about the same. Our games moving up and down. So that could be why we're seeing some of these weird ones where I was like the last one where I was surprised it was so low. Probably just putting it more where it should really be in comparison. But enough talking about other games. Let's talk about Imperium Domain. We're seeing that sticks around. This is one of the ones that showed it. It was 91 last year. Number 70, so it didn't drop. It dropped, but not a lot. But it was number 70 2 years ago. But yeah, I love Imperium Domain. I think it's a different take on deck building games. It's different in the regards of it feels like there's different ways to go, and it's not so much about just having that random hand that you draw, because you're going to have to choose an action anyways, and you're always going to be able to choose an action whether you draw it or not. You're just going to be doing it at a lesser extent. And the directions you could go, and the idea that you go buy a card, when you get a new card for your deck, it goes straight to your hand, so you're going to get to play it immediately. So it's not one of these ones where, oh, I bought that card, now I got to wait for it to get through my deck, and oh, game's over. And then sometimes you can buy a permanent that just stays out permanently. Overall, I enjoy this game a lot, and in a way you can either explore the planets, or you can, by colonizing them, or you can just go military and just take out the planet, or take the planet by force, and then those give you victory points, and then you can also build a resource engine that way once you have the planets. So, good game. I will admit, I get where some people are like, it moves clunky. There is some little bit of clunkiness, it feels like. And I think it's because of when this game came out and what they were trying to do with it as far as deck building goes. So I think it just basically, I definitely see the clunky. When people tell me it feels clunky, I don't disagree with them. There are some clunky things, but I love this game. I can think of many a night where I played it with people. We've been sitting at IHOP and just playing this game. You can break it out real easy because it's just cards, really, and play and have a great time. And I just played it recently again, and I think that's the only reason why, well, I would say it went up, but only went up 1 point. But I did play it, and I'm still enjoying the game. It's just a good game to check out. And I haven't even tried all the expansions. I've played this game a lot, and I thought I tried all the expansions until I opened it up this last time to play, and it was like, oh, I haven't even mixed in this expansion yet. But then we were kind of on a short thing, so I was like, okay, I'm not going to learn something new. But either way, I do want to try with the expansion now and see what else it can add, because this is one of those games, like I said, been in my top 100 since the get-go. Looks like it's going to kind of stay there. It didn't really move, so unless I get a bunch of games that are just going to push it off, I just don't see it going anywhere. This is going to probably be in my top 100. But we'll see what happens next year. My number 89, throws in one of my favorite mechanics on top of deck building, which is bag building, and that is groves. I know it's out of print. I got somebody interested in it, and they loved it, and it was sad to tell them this is out of print. Probably not going to find it. As a matter of fact, I didn't even own a copy until this last year because I always played someone else's copy, and then I finally had to go get my copy, and I think I paid about 15 or 20 bucks over MSRP for it, but it was in my top 100, so I knew I needed to own it and try it again, and it looks like it's been staying steady because it was 89 this year. It actually almost fell off last year at 98. It was 90 the year before that, so it looks like it's within the same 10, and I do love this one. My only complaint, and I might look into finding a way to do it, but then it just sucks, is the artwork is so beautiful, but it's cardboard you're putting into a bag. And eventually that cardboard is going to rub off the artwork. And I want to find some way to use something like gems or something like that. And I thought about maybe just having the workers off to the side so you can still look at the artwork and just putting a gem or something, like those cracked ice crystals in the place of them. But it just feels kind of weird because you also know what's in your bag at all times, which you're not really supposed to. If I remember right, I think this is one of those bag builders where you're not allowed to look inside your bag. You're not allowed to know what's in there. So you got to just remember. If it's not, that's definitely a change I'm going to make. I'm just going to put it to the side. But I think I looked into this before, and that was the only issue I had. But other than that, good game if you haven't tried it. It's a quick game. It's an easy game. You're going to basically be getting these different colored fairies, and you can pull them out of the bag, and you get to work or place them on your own little tableau you're building to do certain things. And you can even build mirrors as one of your actions to be able to link up to another player who is next to you, to your left or right, so that you can play on their board. Good game. Only thing is, you play on their board, they're going to get that fairy, and they get to play with it now. But there's also bad fairies you can chunk their way that are harder for them to get off. But then now they can build a mirror to put it, like, good game, simple game, beautiful artwork. It does seem like it's a little short, but it also feels like about the time when the game ends is about the time when you feel like you're about to go nuts and do a bunch of crazy stuff. So it's got that thing that I always fault at in games like that. Like, man, it feels like this game's too short. Yeah, but if it would have went another turn or two, if somebody's got a crazy combo, they're about to really go off, and this is just that perfect timing to stop it, see where your score's at, and it always seems about even. So, good one to check out if you're into bag building, or if you look at the artwork and you love it, check it out. Of course, I'm always one of those people, try to find a way to play it before you go buy it. I always say play before you pay. Weird since I own a shop, but that's the way I feel. Especially when I'm talking about games and recommending games to people, I'd prefer if they played them first. That way, because some games just trigger different for certain people, and this is one of them that I like a lot just because of the bag building, plus the beautiful artwork. The theme I do like the theme a little bit. I mean, there's not much to it other than just skinned on. You could have skinned it with anything, but it is beautiful. Go check it out. Groves. My number 88 is a new one to the list. And I'm not surprised it's there because I talk good things about it. Mosaic. Mosaic is my number 88. I like this game a lot. I know a lot of people try to say because it uses the tag thing, the tag mechanic that you see in Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova, that this should be compared to it. I actually think this is like that tag mechanic on crack. I almost feel like without the Colossal Edition, which is what I own, where it has the dials on the bottom of your sheet or on the bottom of your board to where you can keep track of all your tags, that it actually becomes a pain in the butt. While I like that tag mechanic, I really don't like it there because it's like, wait, do I have too many of this, or do I have enough of these? Without that thing. Other than that, I like it. And one of the great things I can say about this game, very fast game. It wasn't quite as 4X as I was hoping. And I know people, it says it's a civ building game. I disagree. I do not feel like it really, I think it's more Civ themed, kind of like in the vein of Tapestry, where it feels very Civ themed, and you feel like you're doing things that have to do with civilization building, but the things you're doing in the game really don't, to me, gel well with an actual civilization game. Because I do like civilization games. But I bought this because it was a civilization game. And we're going to see. The expansion hasn't come out yet. And the expansion is going to do like random events, which I love random events in a game. So we'll see. I think this could go up for me. I also haven't played it a whole lot, so I haven't really got to delve much into it. But I will say, very fast game. I have played it with people that have analysis paralysis problems, and we've still been able to get this game knocked out in an hour and a half. And I mean, I know it sounds, if you're like, hour and a half game, but I'm talking about like, wow, don't get scared by an hour and a half. When you look at what you're doing in this game and all the stuff that you need to do and things you need to keep track of and whatnot, that could easily be a 3-hour game, like out of the box. But this one, I played it. The turns are quick. It's choose one of the actions, just do it. There's no overcomplication to the triggers or anything. You get your resources or you're building things. Just very simple game. The downtime on this game is very minor. I was playing it once while having to watch the shop, and literally took my turn, stood up to go help a customer, just asked them if they need any help, and turned around and somebody was already standing up going, hey, it's already your turn. And that was in a 5-player game, I think it was. Yes. And the turns went by that fast. It's very quick. And when I say an hour and a half, that was with someone who had analysis paralysis. So, I mean, this is a great game. Check it out if you can get a chance to play it. I'm going to be happy to see what the expansion adds a little bit. See if it makes it feel a little bit more civilization-y to me. I've already read what it is. I think it's going to be just more of that Civ theme, which is fine. Like I said, I enjoy playing the game. So, Mosaic, number 88. My number 87 is another one new to my list. And it's no surprise that this is about where it's at, because we've been talking about the randomness factor here. And sure enough, here we are. Reckoners, number 87. It's brand new. I just played it. It's just a dice chucker, but the way the bad guys can come out and the way the bad guys move around and interact and the way you need to get certain things and certain items that give you special abilities, just great dice chucker co-op game. The theme's cool. I didn't know nothing about it till I heard about it. I want to say Tom Vassell from Dice Tower mentioned it or something like that. That made me go look into it because he'd read the books or something. But definitely went and checked it out. Now I want to read the books too after playing the game and seeing what the theme was all about and whatnot. And even if you don't want to go read the books, it's a superhero themed game to a degree. It's actually, I guess it's more like The Boys. If I had to compare it to something, it'd be more like The Boys is the best way to describe it, where the superpowers are the baddies and you are bringing them down. But yeah, great dice chucker. We played it at multiple player counts, and I seem to have a great time with every player count. I haven't really had a bad experience with the player counts yet. Of course, I haven't played it on very low player counts. It's usually been the higher ends because we have so many people on Thursdays. But I do know, first time I played this game was with a group of new people to board games and new to our group. Half the group, I want to say it was 5, or I think it was 6 players. I think it was 6 players. It was 6 players. And half of them were new to both ends, board games and our group. And they still talk about it to this day, like, hey, we should play Reckoners again. So we had a great time, and I haven't even tried out the expansion yet, which I do own. I'm still having fun with just the base game and seeing what I can explore into that. So once I mix in the expansion, which has 2 new big bads that you get to fight. I just see this staying on my list. We'll see. I also talk about dice chucking. I like dice chucking. So here we have that dice chucker. So, yep. Number 87, new to the list, Reckoners. My number 86 has been on the list ever since I played it. It is Fate of the Elder Gods. And it's funny, we were talking about all the randomness, because I think that's why it's here. And I guess that's what Pub Meeple's showing me, is when I'm comparing these games, on average, like I said, it puts them here. It was 86 this year. Last year it was 39. The year before that was 49, which is where we found all those other random games. So I think we're seeing that same problem, because I like this game a lot. And I really do think this is a game. A lot of times a game will say 2 to 4 players, and really it's not a good 2-player game. It's just really a racing game at that point. But I think this is one of those games, I do think I like it more 2 players, just because of that random chaos nature. I feel like the 2 players are a little bit more strategic and a little bit more on the worker placement and outthinking your opponent on the area control with the worker placement and figuring all that out. But there's this element where you cast spells, and because of where they worker placed, you're leaving behind the runes or whatever. I don't remember what they're called, but it's basically the components they need in order to pull off their spells. With a lot of players, or more than 2 players, that just gets so wild and so random and so keeping track of where people are at. But still a great time, and it's a great game for if you like area control and you like worker placement. Check it out. It's kind of one of those things where if you have the majority, and you worker place there, because you control that area with the majority of the people, you get to do something more there. But then you have to worry, because you're attracting, it is Cthulhu themed if you know nothing about it. And what you're doing is you're trying to slow down everyone else from waking up their god while you wake up your god. This was one of those games I just really enjoyed ever since I played it. Have not played the expansion yet, because I just saw it added monsters and stuff. I was hoping for more gods. But like, I don't know. Well, I think it did have more gods. Another one that I'm still enjoying the base box. Haven't mixed the expansion in yet. Probably will try it this year though, because now it's not that it's getting so old. It's just now I've played it enough to kind of know. I think I've played every single god, so probably going to about time to mix the expansion in, check it out, see what it's all about. But all in all, great game for worker placement and area control, and I think that's why we're seeing it here, because of that random factor. And I was going to go to my just go with the 80 through 100 here, but I think I'm going to stop it here. I think the video is kind of long enough. Of course, I'm sure I'll edit out a lot of stuff, which will probably trim it down a little bit. But I think I'll just go 15 and go into my next one there and see where we go from there. Hopefully, it's not just more of the randoms. That way, it's I'm not talking about this one back on the next video. But hopefully, I didn't bore you too much. I'm doing this more just for my own personal self, just to have a video to look back, see what I'm saying about a game, and being able to look back and see what I have to say about that game then when I'm looking at it later, so that I can see if I'm catching the same stuff from my own games and whatnot. And I figured if I was going to write it, I was going to start just writing it down. And I was like, if I'm going to go and write it down, why don't I just do what everyone else does and throw out my own 100? Even if it's just to show you and introduce you to maybe some new games that you want to try out. That's one of the things I enjoy about, I know I've already plugged them a couple times in here, but check out the Dice Tower. They have some great videos, and a lot of times, even though I already have seen their top 100s come up multiple times, a lot of times I'll watch their top 100 still to this day, mostly to see the player's choice and see where my games rank on those. But go check them out. I like seeing if they'll mention some game. Like we talked about, Gen 7 popped up in my top 100. They may mention something that all of a sudden became new to them. Or not new to them, but something that they hadn't talked about, and now they're talking about it because all of a sudden they like it. Or they just make a comparison to one game that I like, and they mention something else, and it's like, oh, let me go see what this one's about. And I'm hoping that's what I do here. If you do watch this and you enjoy it, please do a like, and subscribe, just so that I know that you want to see more of these. But really, it's just I'm hoping to interest people into these games and give you an idea if you like some of these. And hopefully I didn't rant too much or cut out stuff or dissuade you by anything I say, because at the end of the day, this is my personal opinion on the games. And like I said, I just did it through Pub Meeple of comparing the game, and the way I did the comparison, I didn't talk about it earlier, but the way I looked at it when I was doing Pub Meeple was, if this game's on one table and this game's on this table, which game am I going to go choose to play? And that's going to be my excitement, you know, level of that game. So to me, being able to get more people into this hobby, which is such a great and fun hobby, and to be able to show you other games that you might be interested in or may want to take a look at. But enough ranting. I'm going to let you go here. Come back and probably do my next 15. But with that, thank you for watching and have a great day.